subsequent Anglo-European occupation, and then we also wanted to emphasize that the Ute, and sometimes referred to as Spanish Trail, ran right through there. Most of you probably have heard of the Dominguez Escalante expedition. They came through Ridges Basin in 17, I'm not sure exactly, I think it was 1770, somewhere in that neighborhood. But then in addition to those aspects, we also have mining, agriculture, railroads, ranching. We felt that all of these were important themes. They're important to this community, and they're important to the development of Ridges Basin as a reservoir and also as a recreation area. And we wanted these themes to be emphasized in any of the facilities that are built in development of this recreation plan. So I think you can go to the next one. When we looked at the present, we felt that the things that needed to be talked about in terms of education for the community and for just looking at what we have there currently, we felt that the history of the ALP project was important. We wanted that story to be known. Probably most of the people in this room, if you've lived in town or in La Plata County for any period of time, you're probably aware that it's been going on for quite some time, and finally the development is a reality, and we'd like to be able to demonstrate that history to the community. And in addition, we felt that the engineering aspects were important. The pumping plant, the inlet canal, all of the engineering, the dam itself, these are all things that could be used for education of youngsters and so on. We wanted to put forth the reasons for this project. It's partly to settle water claims for the Ute tribes and so forth. And we also wanted to emphasize how the community can be involved in the use of Ridges Basin and emphasize the educational aspects that are available from this resource. Environmental education, cultural, resource protection, and so on. So there's going to be a lot of opportunities for the community to be involved, and we want to try to get people involved as much as possible. One of the things that we discussed in our group was that there is probably not going to be a lot of funds available just for education and interpretation, but we're going to try to piggyback on other facilities as they're being built, and we're going to probably have to rely a lot on volunteer efforts. So the more the community is involved in this, the better it will be. Next. And then the future. You know, that's really what the education is all about, is to get the next generation to understand the importance of this facility and how it can be used and what they can do with it and how they can make it better. So we want to emphasize in interpretive efforts and educational efforts of preserving the natural qualities of the basin, encouraging young people to be involved in resource preservation efforts, protecting natural and the cultural environment of the basin, and promoting long-term thinking about the environment. There's a whole ream of possibilities of how this could be used for environmental education, sustainability, and so on. And it's only limited by the involvement of the community and what the community is willing to put into this. And then we felt that we could reach that goal through using technology, internet, and so on, making it available to people. Some folks brought up the fact that you could develop an iPhone app that would allow someone to drive around or walk around the basin with their telephone, and they could get a history of Ridges Basin as they were going around, and they could identify specific areas that they were in, and maybe it would talk about the Bodo family and the ranching history when they're in one area, and then they could talk about the coal mining that took place in other parts of the basin. There's a railroad that went through there. There's all kinds of important and interesting historical and prehistoric aspects that could be talked about through one of those type of apps. We felt community volunteer efforts were going to be crucial to education and interpretation. Incorporation of aspects of the basin into school lesson plans would be very important. we felt that we're going to have to piggyback onto other facility development. And by that I mean that if they build a visitor center, it's not likely that we're going to get separate funding to do education and interpretation, but if they can put a few dollars aside in building a visitor center, then we can have exhibits there on the history of the project and so forth, and try to make them specific to whatever the facility relates to. So if there's a trail that's developed, have interpretive signs along the trail that would relate to the former use of the trail as the Ute or Spanish Trail and so on, things of that type. There was some talk about taking some of the existing irrigation ditches and using them as trails. So if you had developed a trail from the former path of an irrigation ditch, put an interpretive sign on there and tell that story of that irrigation ditch and how it played a role in the family ranching life of the people that lived in that basin. And then we also felt that one thing that might be important, at least in terms of making it viable economically, is to develop a brand of Lake Nighthorse. And next picture. And that's what these pictures relate to. One of the things that we talked about was you could have Carbon Mountain as you know, part of the brand, and maybe with a golden eagle shown on top of that, or something that reflects what Ridges Basin and Lake Nighthorse is to the community, and make it something that's unique, so that people that are not local, that they're coming into the area, they may want to spend an extra day or two in the community and leave a few of their dollars here that might necessarily go somewhere else if they weren't. And that's pretty much what we came up with. Any questions? Good. I'll. Sure.
When you say brand, would it be better to say logo on your brochures?
Mm-hmm.
Would that make more sense?
Yeah, I have no objection to using those words. I just.
So if you're talking about like a brochure that would be put
Right.
at the visitor center?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right, yeah, so it just something that would make it unique in people's minds, and they could think about it as a destination.